one that has to make it happen. There is nobody else to come and save you. You have already received what's coming to you from outside. Now you have to look on the inside and develop on the inside so that you can save yourself and others. So I told Mr. Allen, I said, after I began to understand what he was trying to do, I said, I'm going to set a goal and a purpose where this is concerned. I said, Mr. Allen, I'm one of your disciples. And within the next year to 2 years, I'm going to see to it, inshallah, that there are 100 to 200 hoop houses built and functioning in America. Yeah. So I'm asking you to help me reach that goal. Because when I was thinking about 100 to 200 hoop houses, I was thinking about you. Because you got to eat. You see, so we want to build at least that number, but we can't think about just ourselves. We have to think about the whole community. Your family needs a hoop house. Your neighborhood needs a hoop house. Your church needs a hoop house. The mosque needs a hoop house. The school where your children go to school, they need a hoop house. Otherwise, you won't have the food that you need because 2011 looks like the year of famine. Food prices are expected to go up 400%. So when that happens, people start to riot like they're doing over in the Middle East. So we're going to have Mr. Allen's video. It's a 37-minute video presentation. He wanted to be here, but he had a previous engagement. He could not get out of that engagement, and so he went into the studio, well, actually into his greenhouse, and he filmed a presentation. He's talking to you. So if we could have that video, please.
Hello, my name is Will Allen. I'm a farmer. I'm also the founder and the CEO of an organization called Growing Power, which was established in 1995. We're sitting here in one of our greenhouses on the property. We're actually in greenhouse number 5, where you probably hear the rushing of water. We have over 100,000 gallons of water where we raise 2 types of fish. We raise yellow perch or lake perch that you'll find in Lake Michigan. We also raise tilapia. Hello, my name is Will Allen. I'm a farmer. I'm also the founder and the CEO of an organization called Growing Power, which was established in 1995. We're sitting here in one of our greenhouses on the property. We're actually in greenhouse number 5, where you probably hear the rushing of water. We have over 100,000 gallons of water where we raise 2 types of fish. We raise yellow perch or lake perch that you'll find in Lake Michigan. We also raise tilapia. So we raise over 100,000 fish annually in these greenhouses, and that's part of our integrated food system that we have at Growing Power. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and my background. I actually grew up on a farm right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm the son of a South Carolina sharecropper who dropped his plow and mule back in the 30s and moved during the Great Migration of African-American folks to the northern cities and Midwestern cities for a so-called better life. But unlike many of the African-American males that left farming in those days for industrial jobs, for some reason my father wanted myself and my brothers to learn about where our food comes from and carry on the tradition of farming. And that's how I learned to do what I do today from my parents. On my mother's side, also from around Aiken, South Carolina, her family has a long history, about 400 years of being involved in agriculture. So I have a rich agricultural background, and the type of agriculture that I'm going to be talking to you about today and showing you at our greenhouses here, uh, is kind of a different kind of agriculture in that it's more intensive in production and year-round, and food being grown inside the city to feed thousands of people. I wish I was there with you to speak to you in person, but I had a earlier previous engagement that I was committed to, so I'm sorry I can't be there, but imagine that I'm there in spirit with you all. Again, I hope you have a wonderful conference. I know, and we also have a greenhouse, a hoop house there to kind of give you a visual of how we grow our food and the types of structures, one of the types of structures that you can put up very quickly and start growing food. But I want to tell you a little bit about this facility that I purchased in 1993. And I purchased this facility to sell my farm produce that I grow. I farm a 100-acre farm south of here in Oak Creek, about 45 minutes. And back in those days, in 1993, I also had a corporate job. I was working for Procter & Gamble. And when I made the purchase of this facility, which is the last remaining farm in the city of Milwaukee. This farm was a 19th century farm, and the greenhouses here were constructed, A-frame greenhouses, in the late 1920s. This area was at that time called Granville Township, and in the 30s, Milwaukee annexed the land and it became a part of the city of Milwaukee. But it's a historical farming area where we're sitting here today, and these old greenhouses have continued to grow food for all those years. What makes it possible for us to do what we do is the fact that these greenhouses have never been out of business. I'm the third owner of the facility, and the previous two owners never had a break in their operation. So we're able to, from a grandfathering clause, be able to do what we do in terms of raising animals and doing some of the things that we do today. And to describe what we do today and the continuum that we moved along, when I bought this facility, I bought it for pretty much selfish reasons of selling my farm produce. 2 years into the project, I helped a youth group from the YWCA, and out of that, I had some friends that said, well, since you like, working with kids, which I do, you should start a nonprofit. So that's how I got sucked into this work, is working with kids. They'll do it to you every time. So along that continuum, I volunteered for the early years, and I started adding more pieces to what I call the farm system puzzle, where I kept adding more pieces to the puzzle, mainly to support the pieces that I already knew about in my over 34 years of farming here in Wisconsin, and over 50 years overall. I kept adding these pieces that enhanced the pieces that I already had. Along that journey, from those early years of 1993 to today, we now have 15 farms, with this being our national headquarters, and over 60 employees, and we have 12 regional training centers around the U.S. As we spread the word and teach people, over 1,000 farmers a year around the U.S. and around the world. So this is our kind of the center of our universe, this farm, and it's very important spiritually in terms of what we're doing here, because part of the work that we do here is, I wouldn't totally say it's farming. It's about using the food system and providing food for over 15,000 people in our area here in Milwaukee to growing a community. So we're doing more than just growing food and growing soil and growing all of the things that we grow, but we're growing community and helping to create a sustainable community, because I don't believe that we can have a sustainable community unless we have a sustainable food system. So I just want to kind of put in context and frame what I think is happening with our food system. I think everybody knows that our food system is broken, that much of the food that we eat is being produced by industrial agriculture, and much of the food that many people who live in these food deserts like this area, and by the way, this area also is a food desert. You have to travel over 4 miles for a retail grocery store, 4 miles north, south, east, and west. So we're truly a food desert. 5 blocks away is Milwaukee's largest housing project called West Lawn. It's being deconstructed right now and will be put back together as a multi-use, multi-income facility, which may be a good thing. We're involved in that project in that we will be managing the community gardens in that community, so people will be able to grow their own food. We're also involved in talks with the Housing Authority to build a 20,000 square foot grocery store that would supply really healthy food for the community. So that's what's happening in this local community. But going back to how we started in terms of working with the youth, I think that is kind of the cornerstone of our work. Even though we're a multicultural, multi-generational organization led by a person of color, which is a rarity in the work that we do, and really with organizations throughout the U.S. But the young people that we work with was a way for us to really get to know the community and get to know the adults in the community through our youth corps, which we continue today working with kids. Some of these young people that I worked with years ago are now over 30 years old, and some of them actually work for our organization now. So that's been a very good thing to see those young people learn about the food system and want to be a part of it, but also to change their lives. Because that's what the work that we do here in Milwaukee, the work that we do in Chicago, which is another one of our big growing areas where we have farms at Cabrini Green, and on the south side at Algalt Gardens, as well as Grant Park. We have 2-acre farm, and our new farm that we're developing across the river from Bridgeport called Iron Street. So our work is really centered around our young people and has really helped us to move our organization along and make those connections. So what's happening today as I move forward and move through those, along those continuums from, say, 1993 and the turn of the century and to today, we've really grown as an organization. But also the movement has turned into what I call the good food revolution. It's really become a revolution where many folks that were involved in farming, maybe in the South, especially people of color or immigrants that came across and were persecuted and lost their farms, are now wanting to get back into agriculture for a number of reasons, for health reasons, for financial reasons, for many, many very positive reasons, that we should control the food that we put in our bodies. And again, food is the most important thing to our lives. That's the way I feel. And like I said before, there's no way for us to build these safe, sustainable communities unless we grow local food. So this is about growing local food, having folks participate from all levels in this work that we do. So engaging the community is like the first thing that we do. The first thing that I did when I started doing this work, and the way we did it was through the youth that we hired, because they were the catalyst to get their parents involved. And before we knew it, we were anchored into the community. We were looked at as an asset to this local community because we worked with just about every young person in its community. And that's what really helped us to grow our organization. And then we started getting anchored into the entire Milwaukee community. And so we started being looked at by the city officials and corporate companies and others as an important part of Milwaukee. And we started bringing in positive publicity to Milwaukee through our trainings and our work and some of the distinctions that we were starting to get from outside of the community. So people started looking at Milwaukee in a different kind of way. As a matter of fact, today we're looked at as the urban ag capital of the world. And I think that's something we're very proud of, and we kind of led that process for Milwaukee to be called the urban ag capital of the world. And we do that and hold that distinction very modestly, because farming, one thing about farming, it keeps you grounded, because you know, one little bug or bad weather can pretty much put you out of business. So this is something that you do that'll keep you very grounded and very humble as you do your work with the community. Part of this revolution is about creating jobs and creating a new industry in terms of you know, hiring people into this industry, not just one or two categories of jobs, but hundreds of categories of jobs and thousands of jobs overall. I see that happening in the next few years as this grows, because this is not a fad. The fact that now we have, like I said before, people of color, we have black folks, brown folks, all kinds of folks wanting to be a part of this. 15 years ago, when I would go into a community, I would get asked, Will, why do you want to do this slaves work? Today, I don't hear that. I hear people coming out and they're proud that I'm doing this work, and an organization and other people of color involved in this. And I think this is something that is very positive and something that will continue and grow, because it is. It's growing all over the country. I have the opportunity to work in communities almost in every city in America, and get to speak to mayors and presidents and first ladies and so forth. So everybody's wants to join what I call the Good Food Revolution, which is a grassroots revolution. It's a revolution that top-down operators now want to become a part of. Universities, politicos, corporate companies, educators, they want to become a part of this Good Food Revolution. So that's where we are today. What Growing Power is doing is we're going to be training over 1,000 farmers a year through our workshops. Folks are coming here to Milwaukee. We're going out on the road to our regional training centers around the country, which we have 12, and we're training people. We're producing materials. Anything that we come up with, that we create, is to be disseminated to the public. We're not holding anything, putting stuff in the back closet, and hiding anything. We want to make sure that this revolution grows, and whatever we can do to make that happen is very important. The other piece that's important about this work is that we're not an organization that's going to come into a community and force our way in and say, what we do at Growing Power is right for your community. As a matter of fact, I don't leave this spot, this place, unless I'm invited into a community, and that's the process that happens. We invite people here for tours, over 15,000 last year, and workshops, and then we get invited into their communities, whether they're native communities, inner city communities, small town communities, suburban communities, because my personal fundamental belief is that everybody should have access to the same good, healthy food. And we try to make that happen. If you come to our workshops, you'll eat healthy food. Food that we produce, food that our co-op members produce. We have over 300 members of our co-op, and that food gets distributed by us, as well as the food that we grow. So it's really important that this revolution is about good food, food that's grown without chemicals, and that we're able to get this food, the same food, whether you're low income, medium income, or you're a multi-millionaire. We want to make sure that that same food is distributed. What's happening in our industrial system is that our food has categories. You know, if you're poor, you can only get this because you only got these kind of stores, and this really bad processed food and bad meat goes to those communities. That has to end. And to make that happen, we also do work around social justice and food justice. And we operate an organization within Growing Power called Growing Food and Justice. And we have an annual conference every fall. And we bring people together from all over the country and outside of the country to participate in developing techniques that they can go back and change their communities, to dismantle some of the racism that's in the food system, to do it in a multicultural way, because I don't think any individual or any group of people can do this without the help of everybody being involved. So we encourage that we do this in a very multicultural kind of way. But we have to set that example. And it's very serious work. Over 1,000 people have joined. We should have over 500 at our conference in Milwaukee this coming September 7th, 8th, 9th, I believe are the dates. But you can find that information out on our website. Because my memory is not so great all the time. You know, but I know it starts September 7th, and it lasts about 3 or 4 days. And it's a very important piece. So I want to welcome you all to come to that. I want to welcome you all to come to Growing Power to see what we do. Because we have a very integrated food system here that we've created along a continuum. It doesn't happen overnight. I have this thing called the 7 Ps that I operate. And those 7 Ps, 2 of them I'll give you. They're patience and passion, because this is very passion-driven work. It's not all about the money, because I've seen money thrown at this before, and a year later those organizations are out of business. So this is a lifestyle. This is a passion thing. It's a spiritual piece to grow food and touch the soil, because we all should touch the soil every day. That's how important that aspect of this work is. So whether we realize it or not, we're people of the soil, people of the earth. And I think that's important for all of us to start to understand and embrace, because we'll be better off for that. And this work is about the people and how we engage with each other, and how we're able to bring people together around the same table, to have everybody at the table, and that we're not just kicking people off because we don't like their color of their skin or their politics or religion or whatever. This is a non-political thing when it comes to hunger. And we're in a state right now where we've got more hunger in America and more hunger around the world than ever before. It's a time when we look back that our government said, you farmers grow soybeans and corn from fence row to fence row, we're going to feed the world. Well, that didn't happen. I think the approach has to be on a local level. We have to feed ourselves. We have to take responsibility for feeding our families and participate in some way. Not all of us are going to grow food, but we can participate by supporting the folks that are going to grow the food and grow the soil and so forth, to make our communities safe and happy and sustainable. So again, I wished I was there with you all. I encourage you to get involved with the revolution. I encourage you all to get involved with Growing Power because we would love to have you visit our facility at any time to participate in our workshops and our trainings that we have, and enjoy your gathering and really enjoy it. And I hope that food is really something that you'll start embracing and using that as a piece to grow your community. I'm also going to give you a view of what our facility's like here in Milwaukee. And hopefully you'll get a taste of what we do here. Thank you, and have a great gathering, and I look forward to seeing, and I do know quite a few of you, and I want to get to know many more of you in the coming days, weeks, and months and years ahead.
All right, let's go inside.
The beauty of these prototypes is that they're size neutral. We built the infrastructure.
We're watching a movie called Fresh
Building and hoping to pay for
in the
it
lobby.
20 years down the road on the 10 millionth one. Where we're standing, it's got raised,
Let's take a look at some of the photos. Okay. Local coffee. Coffee grounds are used in the compost. Let's go into greenhouse number 1.
Those are not the same as the 79
All right. This is where a lot of the meetings take place. All right, now let's go to greenhouse number 2, where there's an aquaponics system. We'll be seeing many aquaponics systems on this short little tour. see the fish right now, but there are thousands below. Plants feeding the fish feeding the plants. Okay, now we're in greenhouse number 3 where the worm bins are. Vermiculture production. I'll show you some of the worm bins. They're really nice. Okay. That's where there's some plants, but this is where the dirt gets sifted. One of the places. There's a worm bin right here. Okay. And the greenhouse number 4. Where there's another aquaponics system as well as mushroom logs. Greenhouse number 5, more extensive aquaponics. So Will's office, and let's go over the bridge. There's quite a number of fish in here. And again, growing mushrooms in an entirely different way through these bags. So pretty much every square inch of this place is used for growing. Just another view. Okay, we're leaving 5. Oops, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. That's where the stormwater collection is. And let's go into 6, which is another place for training.